if Milei is successful in reviving the Argentine economy where it becomes a major player again, and it's possible, I mean, he'll win the Nobel Prize in economics.
Buy my novel, Escape from the Village, from major booksellers online. Go to escapevillage.com. Subscribe to the Substack. Go to fountainheadforum.substack.com. Support the forum. Go to buymeacoffee.com/fountainheadforum. Thank you. Welcome to the party, pal. This is Fountainhead Forum 219. I'm talking to Tony Martinez. I heard him on another show once, and he's an attorney who practices international law, immigration, and FDA healthcare policy in New York, New Jersey, and D.C. He was also a Latin America foreign policy advisor to the late UN ambassador Bill Richardson of New Mexico. You can follow him on Twitter at US Latam Envoy, I believe. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So how are you, Tony?
Good. And thanks, Chris, for inviting me to be with you and, kind of talk and chat a little bit. What's going on in South America.
Yeah, that's what we're going to talk about. A few goings-ons in South America. Tony knows a lot about. He's been to a lot of countries in South America. We're going to talk about Javier Milei, which is one of my favorite topics. But we're also going to talk about Venezuela because I know people in Venezuela too right now. Some people are hiding in the embassy as we speak, and know people. I know people who know people have been arrested. So how are you, Tony?
Okay. So where do you want to start? Where do you want to
let's start. Yeah. So you're an envoy. So So have you always lived in America, or have you lived?
Yeah. I was born and raised in New York. My parents were from the Dominican Republic. My father was the first member of the New York Bar from the Dominican Republic, Dominican American, 1956. So I come from a family of lawyers, and during my career, I had the opportunity to work with Bill Richardson when he was in Congress, and stayed in touch with him and worked with him on and off in his various iterations in public service. Really unfortunate because it's just a year ago that he passed away. And it was a big loss in the diplomatic world. This guy was unique in the sense that he was able to deal with very difficult people and negotiate and actually get prisoners freed, which is not an easy task. But I just consider it a privilege that I got to work with him. And as an attorney, I've the opportunity to travel pretty much all over Latin America. There's just a few countries that I still haven't been to, but most of them I have visited.
Yeah, and so when you say prisoners free, do you mean like hostages or prisoners of war?
Yeah, hostages. Yeah, political prisoners, hostages. Yeah,
that's a really noble work to do, and it's probably pretty risky. Good for him, because you're dealing.
He's got a great. He wrote books telling his stories, and they're fascinating accounts of people that were in dire straits, and him having the ability to put it together to make it happen to obtain their release.
Yeah,
and also how he interacted with tyrants and dictators and just bad people.
Yes, and there are definitely some bad people. I know one person whose partner got murdered in Mexico, and I actually know another lady who actually got attacked by a pack of dogs in Mexico.
Where was that? That's in the.
I think it might have been near. I can't remember. I think it was somewhere on the West Coast. Okay. But you get 7 or 8 dogs, and they go back to those animalists. They turn back into wolves. Right. Almost. Yeah, it's kind of a scary thing, especially if they're already half wild to begin with. But anyway, so first thing I want to do is talk about what you've been seeing with Javier Milei in Argentina.
I think Javier Milei is like the shining hope of of Latin America and the West, because this is a man who has a firm understanding of principled economics and has been walking his talk as a candidate and as the president of Argentina. And he doesn't have an easy task ahead of him. I mean, he's just to get the economy back in functioning shape. They're still, they're at it only now 10 months. It's an arduous journey ahead, but they were just recently attacking him because of the retirement system, the pensioners. They weren't able to get a raise, and it's like they don't understand that they're not getting a raise not because Javier Milei is not giving it to them. It's because the pension funds were stolen and corrupted and by the people previous to Milei, and there's been no accountability. And so these are the kinds of things that he's had to deal with in Argentina, just undoing the socialist, collectivist mindset that's just overwhelmed and decimated Argentine society.
Yeah. When was your first visit to Argentina, or when did you first meet?
I went as a boy, but then I went just in August before the elections, and I could tell last year, and I could tell that there was something special going on with Javier Milei. Just the whole libertarian philosophy, and the fact that he was able to communicate in a way that people could understand what the principles were and why he would make a very persuasive argument that it was the best preferred course for the country to go forward with to recover from the disaster that they've had of decades of Kirchnerist, Peronist socialism and corruption that really had, decimated Argentine society.
Yeah, and really, it's been decimating South America overall, although maybe not quite to the point as it is. But they were on the verge of going the way of Venezuela, and I think he did at least stop that, and hopefully he'll turn it around. But it's and it looks, as you pointed out, it looks like to me there really is a philosophical re-education taking place there.
Yes. To explain to people the importance of why liberty is better than this idea that the state is going to do everything for you, because they don't communicate what people give up and their freedom and their rights, and even for what they get isn't all that good. That actually the best system that works are free markets.
Yeah.
Let people make their decisions, have a fair playing field, a level playing field. I mean, the government can always make sure that people are playing fairly, but don't interfere with the rest of the process. Don't interfere with the process. Let people negotiate and make choices for their trade and commerce and for their lives.
Yeah, I know he has overwhelming support with people under 30, and I think maybe even people under 40. It seems like, I mean, eventually the older people are going to, if he hangs on to that base, it looks like there's a bright future there.
I think Milei did something that was very significant in that with the young people, young voters always are looking for, will I have a future? What kind of future will I have? And the status quo in Argentina was so bad, the young people can't see any future. And Milei, speaking and explaining libertarian principles, reanimated the young people in Argentina to say, yes, opportunity is possible going down the pathway of freedom and opportunity. And that's and he made his case, and he won.
Yeah, he did. Because and I think most young people don't want to leave home if they don't think they have to. I mean, they'd rather stay at least reasonably close to mom and dad. Uh, maybe not. I certainly don't think they want to, go somewhere that's a 10-hour plane ride away.
Right.
Maybe they want to move a little bit away, like an hour away, but it's but they still like having access to their families. I think it's a natural thing, and now that you have created a future that seems possible there, yeah, I definitely think that. I often say for that reason, really, that I think the worst socialists are the old people because they don't care about the future. They're just
right. Well, there's some people. The old people that don't have grandchildren or don't have any connections. I mean, yeah.
Yeah, but that's the other thing too, is most parents don't want to see their kids leave. Yeah, so what do you think Milei has done differently from other politicians that you've seen? And it sounds like you've watched the political scene.
He tells them the truth.
Yeah, right.
And he also keeps his word.
But,
he says, I'm going to do A, and he says, and he does.
Well, okay, he tells the truth. But why does telling the truth work for him when telling the truth hasn't worked for a lot of other people?
Because he's connected the damage with the truth, the damage done by his predecessors. And he's saying, and he's able to tell, you're not suffering this particular situation because of what I'm doing. It's what these people did to you. I'm trying to get you out of this. That's what my goal is, to forge a pathway out of this madness. And he's basically saying, trust me. And the only way that that people trust him is by you earn trust by keeping your word.
True. Do you think there's anybody else out there who could be another Javier Milei, possibly among
America? We had one here in the United States.
America. We don't have one here in the U.S. I don't know who we would have here in the USA.
Well, I think Ramaswamy is probably the closest to a Milei. They're in Quebec is in the zone, but not exact. But he's in the zone.
I'm not sure what exactly. I really like him about 2/3 of the time, but about 1/3 of the time, I think he's a little bit. I disagree with him very much. But
well, you're never going to agree 100% with any politician.
But there are people that I agree. There are people that I agree with on more than 2/3. So that's why I try to quantify that. It's, but I don't. Maybe and I don't know how much they understand the free market principles. What I hope is that Milei maybe inspires another generation of younger Mileis.
Well, he's doing it by getting the people to read Friedman, Mises, Hayek, all the key economists and philosophers, and he just makes the argument to say this is better than anything else. And he also points out that it is in this philosophy that you are able to solve the problems that the world has encountered of poverty and economic development. No system is perfect, but this is better than anything else.
Yeah, it's absolutely amazing. He's going to the mass. I don't know. I don't know how old you are, but I can certainly remember when the Berlin Wall fell down. And
I remember. I'm 60. So
okay. Oh wow, you don't look it at all. But Tony, there's that little. As I've talked with other people who are my age or older, I said, none of us thought we'd still be fighting socialists now. So what happened? And the one common denominator out there too is that for whatever reason, no matter where in most places you go around the world, almost every college is dominated by a bunch of socialist college professors who think this is some kind of wonderful system that's going to produce all these wonderful results, and they don't.
Well, it's a siren song. It's always, but at the end of the day, it's only great for the politicians who promote it, and it sucks for everybody else.
Yeah.
And then once you have it in place, try to get rid of it. like what you see what happened in Venezuela.
Yeah, well, you have politicians, and I think you also have what I would call the managerial class, or this class of people who just go to meetings and push papers and don't really do anything else.
Correct.
I think maybe why we didn't have so much socialism 200 years ago is we literally couldn't afford to have people doing that. I mean, if you sit down and look at it and say, what do these people really do? I mean, that's all they really do. I mean, people ask me why, I used to do server work for hospitals. And if you ask me why healthcare is so screwed up, I said, well, it's because healthcare has all these people who just go to meetings and push papers.
Yeah.
They don't do anything else. It's,
but there's nothing like a bureaucrat that likes all of this stuff. They live off of it.
Yeah, it's
there.
I think they even kind of maybe wonder, what am I really doing here? Because they're not really. Because I think maybe in their heart somewhere they know they're not really doing anything valuable. It's it's. But yeah, so how do you think Milei's situation compares to cleaning up the USA since you've been inside the USA? I mean,
oh no, we're in the crucible right now. We're not out of this by no means. I don't think people truly understand the magnitude or the consequence. It's not saying that the choices we have are great choices, but my goodness, the economics being promoted by the Democratic Party are just going to, it's like a time bomb. It's going to blow up. We're almost there anyway. I'm very curious to see what's going to happen the next 60 days at the markets, particularly if the Fed drops the interest rates, and then the dollar falls, and then the price of gold, shoots up. I mean, all the cascade, and God forbid if we already have a form of World War III already in progress. I mean, I'm not a fan of Vladimir Putin, but he's not playing games. I think he's determined. If he push him up against the wall, his attitude is like, "You're not going to take me out because I'm going to take you with me if you take me out." It's that psychopathology of thermonuclear war. It's like mutually assured destruction. So why do we even think that? And why are we even progressing? No one is advocating for peace. And that's another very disturbing thing to me. Nobody's advocating for peace.
Yeah, Tony, watching Milei trying to clean up Argentina just actually makes me more pessimistic about America, because I think America has a lot more entrenched corruption and bureaucracies and agencies than they do down there.
Well, it's going to take what Milei did and does is he exposes corruption. I mean, like I said, the elderly are pissed off that they're not getting their raise in their retirement, and they're duking it out with protesting up. But like when he's pointing out, it's like, I'm not blocking your retirement. There is no money. It's been stolen. You're the people you supported previously stole from you. They took your retirement savings. Don't be mad at me. I want to put them in prison.
It's almost as if maybe there's a type of Stockholm syndrome here. They don't want to admit that I voted for these people and they kept abusing me.
Yeah.
It really is, like a battered spouse situation almost. Yeah. And so then they blame the person who tells them, yes, it's a very difficult thing to say, to work with, and all I can hope is that, the younger people, what do you think Milei's prospects are next year? And,
I think as long as he keeps bringing down inflation, which he's doing, as long as he's delivering results, he's going to get reelected.
Well, I mean, he's not up for election, but he can get more deputies, is what I'm thinking. Get more deputies.
I think he's going to get. He's already said that. La Libertad Avanza LLA is gaining more members, and I'm sure there's going to be a house cleaning in the Argentine Congress and Senate next year. It's coming.
Yeah.
And I believe that if Milei is successful in reviving the Argentine economy, where it becomes a major player again, and it's possible. I mean, he'll win the Nobel Prize in economics. That's how because his work will be an affirmation of the free market principles of the things that got Friedman the Nobel, and Hayek and the Mises and the Austrian school of economics.
I don't have that much confidence in the Nobel Committee, Tony. Maybe you do, but I don't.
I understand people's skepticism. I come from a place that the Nobel is supposed to be an award given to like amazing achievement, and if Milei, and I have every faith that he'll do it, if Milei is able to restore the Argentine economy, that's an achievement of serious magnitude. And there are people that don't want him to succeed, because then the decades, the reliance. Remember, Milei also he gave the best criticism and attack on Keynesian economics that I've ever heard. And the world became Keynesian. We bought into this notion that you can print money and you can borrow money to prosperity, and that's like turning nature upside down on its head. But that's essentially what has happened. That's what's happened here in our country.
That's what's happening in lots of places. I mean, it was.
It's a great deal if you're a politician promoting it.
Yeah, unfortunately, it works at the ballot box. How do you think this is impacting the rest of? Do you think maybe people will become a little more bold now that he's done this? Because a lot of the people who claim to be for free markets have no backbone whatsoever, and that's why they lose.
Yeah, you've got to be willing to take the heat and defend your principles.
And he's definitely willing to do that. How long have you known about Milei, and how do you know anybody who's in his cabinet or anybody who's close to him?
I knew about him, for 2 years. When he got into because he's also quite charismatic. I mean, just and entertaining.
Yeah.
He really brought it all together as a politician and as a professor. He's more than a professor. He's a coach.
Yeah.
He's trying to coach people to be their best and say the free market is the way for you to be your best. And it's okay if you have a society where the outcome is equal and already spelled out. It's a pretty shitty outcome when it's equalized. That's the reality. That's the harsh reality. It isn't everybody does well. It's like everybody's miserable, except for the politicians that promote all this stuff.
Yeah, I mean, as I said, do you know anybody in his cabinet, or do you know any diplomats in the government right now? Or
well, no, I don't know. But when I was in Buenos Aires the last time, I met with our U.S. ambassador, Mark Stanley. This was last year. And, Ambassador Stanley knows how special Javier Milei is and what he represents in terms for our strategic interests in the Western Hemisphere. I mean, the United States has a partner with Javier Milei, probably better than any other country. I mean, we're not the economics are not there yet, but potentially, give Argentina some time and the right tools, and let Milei do his thing, and it will take off.
Yeah,
we're going to see what's going to happen in Mexico with Sheinbaum taking over, and she's from the left, and this extreme, the cultural progressive left that to me, it just symbolizes just like decay. It isn't progressive. It's just like decay of the human condition. People don't know anymore who they are. People don't. There's no limits. There's no morality. The moral compass is blurred. I mean, these are very, very trying times, and it's spread all over the world and the Western Hemisphere.
Yeah, I wasn't sure looking up Stanley. It looks like he's very, very blue. He was appointed by Lloyd Benson and now appointed by Joe Biden. So yeah, and he's from Texas too. So
yeah,
it's Mark Stanley with
humanitarian. Ambassador Stanley also shared with me that he was is an organ donor. He donated a kidney. I mean, he's a great guy. I mean, he's a kind of diplomat that Bill Richardson would love working with.
Yeah, I don't know if you have any opinions on anybody else in Milei's cabinet or administration right now that you think.
Well, I think Caputo is doing a great job. I think the foreign minister Diana Mondino is 5-star. That's a class act.
Yeah. Diana Mondino is on the top of my wanted guest list. So yes.
I know. I mean, this is.
Well, she speaks great English, so yes. You know.
No. I mean, just a consummate politician and diplomat.
Yeah. And I think, as you pointed out, when you say, entertaining and charismatic, those are words we don't often hear applied to economists. I mean, we have a lot of wonderful economists out there, but a lot of them are really boring.
Well, what did Milei do? He said Milei has this. I mean, there's this great video. He goes, and he says with such passion and heartfelt, he says, "I didn't come here to guide sheep. I came to wake up the lions, and I want to hear everybody roar, 'Long live freedom, damn it!'" So I mean, my license plate is "Viva la Libertad, carajo."
You get one that's long?
You can't get that. You get the letters.
VLLC, yes.
There you go. Yeah. And then people ask me, "What does that mean?" I go, "That means long live freedom, damn it." Oh, cool. And I tweeted out that photo, and I think I got close to 500,000 retweets because one of Milei's people got it and retweeted it, and he's got a really first-rate group of people.
Yes.
That really tweet out all his stuff.
It could also mean victorious Latin lawyer and counsel. So yeah. So, I got asked, since you're a diplomat, what would you say to somebody if they thought about moving down there?
I would definitely put Argentina on the list of places to move to. Uruguay. I would say Chile, although Chile's got its challenges. Brazil is in a difficult situation.
Yeah.
I wouldn't. Venezuela's no. Certainly not until there's new management over there.
Yeah.
That was just such a shocking display of just tyranny and abuse.
Yeah.
Of the democratic process.
Yeah, I wanted to segue into that, Tony. Since you're familiar with South America, what is your take on what's happening in Venezuela right now? We've got I know some people are hiding out in the Brazilian embassy right now, and I know other people.
You have a charismatic tyrant who really wanted to use elections as a meme to justify that, he really is democratically supported. But it was all BS. It was all a show. He never allowed Maria Corina Machado to run. She won the primary. And when she won the primary, he did everything to block her, criminalize her party, all of that, just to make it impossible. And even with these elections, we know, Maduro still has yet to show the ballots that give him, quote unquote, the 51% of the vote. And it just, the whole thing is corrupt. And it's sad, it's tragic for the Venezuelan people. And there's a narrative there that they're using, to demonize the United States. I mean, the level of corruption. I mean, Maduro and his local, they all live like multi millionaires. They all have assets that they've taken and they have stored abroad. And meanwhile, you have 8 million Venezuelans wandering all over the Western Hemisphere. So it's a mess, and there's no good solution at this time that I can see. I mean, he's just not going to leave.
Yeah, and well, and a lot of them went to Argentina and helped Milei, but how did Venezuela? How long have you been watching Venezuela? I mean, how did it get to this point? Let's go back.
Because of Hugo Chavez. I mean, this goes back 25 years. The siren song of socialism.
Yeah. What was the appeal of Chavez in the first place? I mean, why they apparently did.
Listen, when you have a leader who says to you, "I'm going to make sure you have a roof over your head and that you're going to get medical care, and you're going to have all these things," and he's using the natural resources, the oil, for that purpose, and the price of oil is high enough to support all of that, it certainly becomes appealing. And so that's what happened. There's good material on YouTube. Just Google, how Chavez destroyed Venezuela. There's a whole documentary there. There's plenty of information on the situation over there.
And that's one thing. It seems like countries that have a lot of oil, the government just tries to go and nationalize the oil, and then they give away a bunch of freebies, and that's how but then they lose all their productive capacity. Unfortunately, the resource poor countries seem to do better because people are forced to work.
Yes.
And it does raise the question of what happens when the oil runs out.
I don't think the oil is going to run out anytime soon. Just like I think the whole with climate change and all these narratives, these fear narratives that get pushed on all of us. They're half truths, but they're not they don't tell the whole story.
Yeah. Tony, is it fair to say though that at least going all the way back to the early 70s, Fidel Castro was starting to foment a lot of these socialist revolutions in other countries, backing them? I mean, I know he backed Chavez.
When Castro had he had a period of time when he was expansionist, but when the Soviet Union fell apart and he lost that support, he stopped being an expansionist, and he actually developed a very clever diplomacy, which was, instead of sending military assistance, he would send medical assistance. The only problem that you have is that in Cuba is that the medical assistance that the Cubans should be getting aren't getting it. It's all they were using it for their foreign policy, and then they use the doctors as a form of foreign aid, where the doctors don't really get anything. They get a limited salary, and they're basically conscripted to provide medical services, and the Cuban government charges a hefty price, but the doctors don't really share in that. The people who are actually providing it are not sharing in that. So it's controversial, although on the one hand I can see it's very impactful when you can send medical assistance instead of military assistance especially to developing countries that need the medical care. more than anything else.
Yeah, I know a guy. I don't really talk to him much anywhere, but he went down to Cucuta, which is on the border.
Yeah, in
And
Colombia and Venezuela.
he went down there and just was providing all this free medical care to Venezuelans, and he was just shocked by all of it. It's a lot of people hadn't seen a doctor in a long time. It was just so.
Well, the world's got to focus a little bit more on health. Not everything has a military solution.
Yeah, and sometimes I hear, when people talk about some people from, more from the third world. Well, third world, they have lower IQs. Well, yeah, well, if they can't drink clean water, if they have all these environmental neurotoxins, they're going to have lower IQs.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I don't know. I mean, I don't know how much of a factor that is, but I've heard it's a factor. Too. It's just the same way. People would say, if you have lead paint in your house, your kids will end up dumb. It's in a way we've made it possible so that we can achieve more. It's really kind of remarkable what we're capable of doing here. I mean, so what can you? Who else do you think Castro has funded in the past besides Chavez? I think he was probably.
No, it was clearly involved in Africa, Angola.
Yeah,
there's no secret there.
Yeah. Well, also I think also he's probably involved with the Shining Path in Peru and some of the other group, and I think
he was definitely supportive of any type of revolutionary movement,
and maybe FARC in Colombia. What do you think? What country in South America do you think would have the potential to have another Milei type election?
In terms for the presidency?
Yeah, for something like this to happen. I mean, I'm just trying to be optimistic here.
There aren't any. I mean, well, Bukele is in El Salvador, and Bukele's done a magnificent job establishing security in his country, and on that basis, economic opportunity and development is taking place there. He has solved the gang problem. I'm trying to think of a potential candidate.
Yeah, I don't know.
I haven't gone to some recent forums where I could be listening for potential candidates in a different Latin American country. But I think as each country will have its presidential elections, just pay attention and listen to what the candidates are saying.
I'm thinking more, what countries do you think have a foundation where this could happen? It's more based on just, I know one guy who used to say he thought Argentina would be the place because of some cultural conditions there. I don't. There are some. I don't think it can happen in Venezuela right now, but
no.
But maybe could it happen? I'm not really sure if it could happen in Bolivia or Ecuador right now, but I don't know. Could it happen in Chile? Could it happen in?
Well, something's going to have to be done. I mean, you have a problem with the corruption and the cartels. That thing has done a lot of damage to the established order.
Yeah.
But then that begs the whole libertarian question about how should drugs be regulated? Should there even be a drug war?
I don't favor it because it doesn't. It's what people do consensually, and the other thing too is it just creates this organized crime situation that I think's doing a lot of harm to these countries.
Exactly. And then resources that are needed for drug addiction and treatment are used for other things. So
Yeah, that's another issue. Yeah, I mean, maybe Uruguay is a possible place. Uruguay seemed like it was more sensible in 2020 than some other countries, and it seems like it's small. I don't.
Oh, definitely. Lakai is a great, the president they have there is a good guy.
Yeah, sometimes I wonder too if maybe there's just because it's a smaller country that maybe the government's just closer to the people and it just is less likely to go nuts. What do you think?
Well, a government that's close to its people is good government.
Yeah, but if you have a situation, in the state of New Hampshire, a representative is less than 4,000 people. The U.S. Congress, a representative is what now, 800 or 900,000 people. It's that's a huge difference.
Well, we haven't made changes. And I think situation is on the horizon that will kind of force change. Change will come.
Yeah,
Status quo can't support everything right now. So, I mean, this is our challenge. We're in for
yeah,
a rough waters, I think.
yeah. Getting back to El Salvador, you think Bukele is going to? What do you think is going to happen after Bukele? I mean, I've heard people say things like, "I'm proud to be Salvadoran now." It's they can walk down the street and
I think he's going to have great legacy. I think he brought back security.
Yeah.
He he brought back economic growth and progress. I mean, no one can argue with that.
Yeah. But what do you think about, say, the current situation in Peru or the current situation in Chile?
Well, Chile, they're still trying to figure it out, but Boric is, from what I can see, at least he's handled the Venezuelan matter, in my opinion, correctly, ethically. He knows that Maduro didn't play fair in the elections and that his victory is questionable. So he's going to have to, if he wants to run for re-election. I mean, Chile's elections should be something will be interesting to watch as well.
Chile had the benefits or not of having a free markets established under a military dictatorship, but at least after that, they still have some of those remnants left. Do you think they're going to destroy that and go the way of Venezuela, or do you think they might go the way of Argentina? Or go the way?
I'd like to believe that they can go the way of Argentina, not the way of Venezuela.
I mean, maybe there's, maybe they'll elect another Milei. I'm hoping more of these people pop up. I mean, Bolivia and Paraguay. What do you think about Peru? Or, it seems like they're always arresting their presidents, and of course they just lost one of their most controversial presidents. He died, although that was a while ago.
I mean, they're more, I would say, wild cards. It depends. It really does. It depends. Bolivia was trying to get away from Evo Morales's socialist government. But nothing is easy. I mean, Bolivia is another challenge. It's likewise in Peru. They change presidents every so often too quickly.
Yes, and then it seems like they end up arresting the former president, a few years later. It's
so.
I have a really soft spot for Peru. It's just because it just still seems like a really amazing country, and maybe just because it's still
a nice country, nice people, and definitely some beautiful sights.
Yeah,
and good.
It's also very much. Some people like to say it's what they call it, a vortex because of Machu Picchu and other things there. I read somewhere, for example, that Peru actually has more species of birds than any other country in the world, and you have this very biodiverse place. You've got the rainforest, and you've got all these different levels going up to the Andes, and you've got the rainforest, you've got the Atacama Desert, you've got the coast, you've got all of this stuff. There must have been something there and of course you still have 80 languages there or something like that. It's, for as small a country as it is, it's but I do think some of these countries still have a battle between the indigenous and the descendants of Europeans too. There's definitely a divide there, unfortunately. Bolivia, Paraguay. You said Brazil. What do you think about Brazil? Because Brazil's still not a very safe place to go. I knew that much.
No. And Lula is, he's got his challenges. I think Bolsonaro did a better job. He had his economics correct. I don't see easy times ahead. Brazil, these countries in South America, nobody's in for easy times. There are definitely challenging times ahead.
No, nobody's in for easy times. Yeah, I'm hoping, and there's also been almost a civil war going on in Ecuador right now. What can you tell me about Ecuador?
I was in Ecuador in July, and I wouldn't say that this is civil war. I just say that there's unrest, and it's related again to these drug cartels and the violence that's related to that.
Yeah,
you have to get a handle on that, and I think something is going to give on that end. Tom Clancy wrote about the drug cartels in South America in Clear and Present Danger.
Yes.
Although I don't think that it would be done something like in the book covertly. I think it'll be overtly because this has to stop.
Yeah.
But they feed on the violence because the violence and the chaos lets them do whatever they want.
True. Yeah. Do you think that also still, it seems like things are better than Colombia than they were 20 years ago. What do you think about Colombia?
Yeah. I was in Colombia last month, and it was fine. I didn't see any.
Were you in there about the time of the Copa, the soccer?
No, I wasn't there for the soccer.
Well, one thing you might remember is apparently Petro decided to give all the government employees the day off to celebrate the victory, but then Argentina ended up winning. So it was one of these premature sports celebrations are always hilarious because they almost
we know that soccer, football is such a passion in Latin America.
Yes.
It's right up there next to the Catholic Church.
But in Colombia and Venezuela and Panama, they and Nicaragua and of course Dominican Republic, they do play a lot of baseball, Tony.
Yeah.
That's something I've been thinking about. What do we do to spread more baseball around?
Well, one would hope that the Major League would consider expanding into Latin America.
Well, the first place they'd go would be Mexico City, but I think sometimes maybe all these Venezuelan immigrants.
I think they should go to the Dominican Republic.
Yeah.
And if we had normal relations with Cuba and it was a different situation, there would be a major league team there like there was before. There was.
They definitely had AAA teams in Cuba. Yeah, I do remember that. Of course, it wasn't that far away.
Yeah.
Yeah, it wasn't that far away. It's
no. So they may even have one in Venezuela. The Venezuelans love baseball.
Yeah, they do love baseball. Yeah, so or they might start their own. I know there is a Mexican league, but Mexico's a large country. Yeah, so I should ask, what are some other places? Obviously, you think Venezuela is a no-go. Don't go there. what are some other places that you would definitely advise Americans do not go there?
I would say at this point, I am people with a curiosity for Cuba, and I was very big on travel to Cuba and all of that, but just things are just so bad there. I would not go to Cuba. I would
Yep.
not go to Haiti.
Yeah.
I would not go to Venezuela. I would not go to Nicaragua.
Is there any can you also maybe mention a particular city, maybe not a country, but any cities to avoid or anything like that? And obviously, every city is going to have its bad neighborhoods, of course, but but
I can't think of anyone's off the top of my
yeah,
head now.
because I've certainly I know
I always encourage people to read the State Department
yeah,
travel bulletins
yeah,
and
I
do your homework, do your research before you go.
I'm saying this as a person who's been to Acapulco 3 times, so and it's always on the do not travel list. So because
Yeah,
they break Mexico up into the different states, and they say some Mexican states okay, some Mexican states don't go there. So,
right.
but yeah, and so yeah, that's why I thought I'd ask because obviously but sometimes I think it's good just to ask people too, and usually when I go to a country for the first time, I'll email their embassy here and say, hey, what do I'm visiting your country. What do I got to do? It's, they'll give you some advice like years ago, I called the Peruvian embassy and they said, go get a yellow fever shot. So I did, so,
Yeah.
Cause you can still get sick in some of these countries. It's,
Well, yeah. I mean, read all the health advisories.
yeah.
And get your vaccines and repellent and all of that stuff because there's all kinds of the tropical diseases there.
And you may not necessarily find the best hospitals either. So
no,
be careful. But it can be a very rewarding experience at the same time.
Yes.
In the rainforest for 11 days, completely disconnected, cell phones didn't work or anything. So
yeah.
Any other places that stand out as really great places to go that we haven't mentioned?
Oh, I think the Dominican Republic is a great place to go. Argentina, Chile, Uruguay.
Yep.
I haven't been to Paraguay yet, but from my friends that tell me it's very nice as well. That part of South America. And then Colombia, I mean, Medellin is a fantastic city.
Yep. Yeah, it is.
Just be careful. Single men need to be careful in Colombia.
What's the big threats to single men?
Well, if you go there looking, I mean, they meet these women on Tinder and all of that, and they wind up getting scopalamined, and they lose their money, or some people have died.
Oh, scopolamine, what's that?
It's a drug. It's a knockout drug. It's a date rape type of drug kind of thing. It knocks you out.
Okay, yeah, that's what I was thinking.
There have been Americans that have died in there, but it's in that kind of general fact pattern. They're there, they're single, they're looking to meet, mingle, they hook up, and then they get scopalamined.
Yeah, I wondered about that. I figured that could be an issue, and maybe it's a spiked drink or something like that. Yeah, and if you go down to the rainforest, be careful of some of the people who put unauthorized things into the ayahuasca. But
sure,
yeah, there's other hallucinogens and things like that. But that can be dangerous. It's and not to mention, just try to use your common sense. It's if the locals tell you not to go there, don't go there. That's probably a good rule. Yeah. So yeah, Santiago is definitely nice. Certainly Buenos Aires. Any other cities you really like a lot, Tony? Or
Uh, like I said, Buenos Aires, Mendoza, Argentina is beautiful.
yeah,
You like wine? That's Argentine wine country. Oh, it's so nice.
yeah, I've heard nice things about Mendoza. Yeah, see, some of these are cities that people that aren't as well known, but sometimes you find some really great cities that aren't as
Yeah.
well known, but they just really. I mean, Buenos Aires is amazing, but I've heard a lot of people talk about Arequipa in Peru. It seems like a really nice place, and just Medellin. Yeah, it's
Medellin's very nice. Like I said, just and Cuban people are very nice. It's just the
yeah.
situation in Cuba is dire.
Oh yeah, yeah. You're from I've also heard the Dominican Republic. People from the Dominican Republic definitely don't like the Haitians. Well, what do you make of the situation in Haiti right there? I mean, how much have you followed that?
Well, we've been following it. I mean, it's another crisis,
Yeah,
and we don't seem to have any good solution to bring any kind of stability to the Haitians.
yeah.
I don't know. We got to keep trying. We certainly can't keep having everybody leave Haiti and come to the United States.
Or go elsewhere. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I've heard, and unfortunately, I didn't really believe it until somebody from Chile mentioned it. Said, well, the Haitians come here and eat cats too. So I said, okay, well, then they must be doing America. But I don't know what I don't know really. It's almost like somebody's organizing this. I mean, there's spontaneous immigration where I get up and decide for example I get up I got up 20 years ago and decided I was going to move from Ohio to Texas, but then it almost seems like somebody's organizing this when 20,000 people just descend upon one small city. It's
Yeah. Well, they're obviously that was
who's doing somebody's behind this, somebody's organizing this. It's well, anything else to say before we go?
no. Just I really appreciate the opportunity, and we're happy to chat. And
Yeah,
if anyone wants to follow me on Twitter, there you have my Twitter
yeah.
handle. And
It sounds like you might have some really great stories about Bill Richardson.
yes,
Anyway, okay,
another
please
time we can talk about them.
check out my novel Escape from the Village. Please like the channel, subscribe to the channel, like the video. Check out my Substack. Go to buymeacoffee.com. Also, my guest in episode number 6 just died recently. The first time I've had a guest who died. I'm now at 219. And thank you, Tony Martinez. You're the U.S. Latam envoy on Twitter, and it's been great having you here.
Thank you, Chris, for the invitation. Nice.
Yes, have a good day. Bye-bye.
Thank you very much.